Is the Prime Minister correct? Is that true?
Well, I think, as we like to say politely, he's being economical with the truth. And I would not agree that he's placing the facts on the table as they should be.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Today we focus on the Vande Mataram controversy. Is the Prime Minister right in claiming that Jawaharlal Nehru is responsible for decimating the song, reducing it to just 2 stanzas to appease Muhammad Ali Jinnah and thus make partition inevitable? Or do the full facts suggest a very different conclusion? That's the key issue I shall discuss today with former Professor of History at Jawaharlal Nehru University and former Director of the Nehru Museum and Library, Mridula Mukherjee. Professor Mukherjee, speaking in Parliament on Monday, the Prime Minister claimed that Jawaharlal Nehru was responsible for removing stanzas from Vande Mataram under pressure to appease Jinnah and thus put the country on what he called the path of appeasement politics that ultimately led to partition. Is the Prime Minister correct? Is that true?
Well, I think, as we like to say politely, he's being economical with the truth. And I would not agree that he's placing the facts on the table as they should be. The facts are as follows, that indeed there were objections to the full song of Vande Mataram by various sections, including by Mr. Jinnah. And that the song, which became a national song during the Swadeshi movement, anti-partition movement in Bengal, where Rabindranath sang it on the streets and Aurobindo made it very popular. By the mid-1920s, when communalism began to grow in India and there were communal riots all over India from about 23 to 27, this song became a subject of contention, which it was not earlier. There were earlier some instances, but never much. So there's a 10-year history, even before 1937 or more, to objections. Jinnah, yes, did voice these objections loudly. In 1937, once the Congress ministries came to power in various provinces after the 1937 elections, and he began to accuse the Congress of using their political power to push various things down the throat of Muslims, which were Hindu in character. Among those objections that was raised was that the song was idolatrous and had Hindu imagery, and therefore Muslims should not be asked to sing it. Now, this matter was then taken up by the Congress Working Committee. Nehru happened to be the president of the Congress that year. So he set up a subcommittee. The subcommittee also decided to consult, importantly, Rabindranath Tagore, who was the first person who actually popularized that song, gave it its music, and had sung it at a session of the Congress in the 1890s. So he was an obvious authority on the song. And in this committee were people of all political persuasions. There was Maulana Azad, there was Subhash Bose, there was Acharya Narendra Dev, who was from the socialist group. So it was a very broad-based committee, and they consulted Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore writes categorically, he writes a letter back to Jawaharlal Nehru, which I will read out a couple of sentences to you, which make it very clear. I freely concede that the whole of Bankim's Vande Mataram poem, read together with its context, is liable to be interpreted in ways that might wound Muslim susceptibilities. But a national song, though derived from it, which has spontaneously come to consist only of the first two stanzas of the original poem, need not remind us every time of the whole of it. It has acquired a separate individuality and an inspiring significance of its own, in which I see nothing to offend any sect or community. So, very clearly, Tagore says we need retain only the first two stanzas, which are the one in any case which are sung and which are popular. But he finds justification in the objection. Now, this advice is what is accepted by the Congress Working Committee. The subcommittee makes its report. The Congress Working Committee then passes a formal resolution where it says only the first two stanzas of Vande Mataram will be considered a national song. And even then it says it need not be compulsory everywhere.
I will go into the specific details the Prime Minister raised in Parliament in a moment's time, because I'd like you to have a chance to rebut or refute them if you want. But I want to pick up first on 2 points that you made. You said the Prime Minister had been economical with the truth. That is Churchillian language for saying that someone has told an untruth, i.e., lied. That's what you're saying, aren't you? Let's be honest.
Well, since he's the Prime Minister of India, I retain my civility.
In other words, you're being polite, but what you're saying, underneath that politeness, is the Prime Minister told an untruth.
As I said, he didn't tell the whole story.
He didn't tell the whole story.
And the interpretation which he puts on it, I totally disagree that that song and that it was divided into two led to the partition of the country.
That's the second important thing you made. You made it very clear that the first two stanzas were chosen as the national song and separated from the remaining four stanzas on the specific advice of Rabindranath Tagore. Congress consulted Tagore, this was his advice, and Congress accepted Tagore's advice. So the decision to limit the national song to just two stanzas was Tagore's advice.
Yes, indeed. And that is why I say that if the Prime Minister thinks that he's going to pit Tagore against Bankim in the Bengal elections, I think they need to have a rethink.
Let's then come to the specific details the Prime Minister spelt out in his speech in Parliament on Monday. He said that on the 15th of October 1937, Muhammad Ali Jinnah raised slogans against Vande Mataram in Lucknow, and 5 days later, on October the 20th, 1937, Nehru, who was then Congress president, wrote to Subhash Chandra Bose agreeing with Jinnah's sentiments. In the letter, Nehru said, and this is what the Prime Minister quoted, I have read the background of the Vande Mataram song. I feel that this background may provoke Muslims. Has the Prime Minister got those facts right, or has he chosen them selectively and omitted important details that could create, if they were included, a very different impression?
Well, I cannot comment on that specific letter because it's not before me and I'm not immediately aware of what he said after and what he said later. But as I said, there are a number of documents associated with this, which I've gone through, including, importantly, the letters exchanged between Subhash Bose. And in fact, Subhash Bose talks to Rabindranath Tagore, in fact, and says that please take this matter up with Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. Rajendra Prasad writes to Nehru to say that, there is a lot of concern among Muslims. So I will not comment on the specific, whether in that letter before and after there is other things, because I don't have that letter before me right now, which you are referring to.
Can I point this out? In her speech in Parliament, after the Prime Minister, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra made clear, first of all, that Nehru's letter of the 15th of October was in response to a letter he had received from Netaji Bose. It wasn't a letter where Nehru initiated the conversation himself. He was responding to a letter from Netaji Bose. And secondly, Priyanka Gandhi also pointed out that there were sentences and paragraphs in the letter of the 20th of October that Nehru wrote, which were not read by the Prime Minister. And had they been read, they would have created a very different impression. Now, I know you haven't got that letter in front of you, but do you have any reason to doubt what Priyanka Gandhi said?
Not at all, because the whole spirit of the manner in which the whole issue was handled, I think, was with great maturity by the Congress. It was not a knee-jerk reaction. There was, you see, I think we must understand what the Congress as a secular party is continuously trying to do is, if there are issues which are genuine issues which offend minority sentiments, so the sentiments of any community, it tries to address them in a manner that is inclusive. However, at the same time, taking the wind out of the sails of the communalists who are raising those issues. Now, this is always a very delicate balance. So it's to actually separate those whose feelings are hurt from those who are making political capital out of those feelings being hurt. And
Okay.
this is, I think, one of those instances. And if I may just put on the table also a very important article by Mahatma Gandhi in 1939 July in the Harijan 1939, where he says, and this controversy continues, by the way, despite the working committee's resolution, because the communalists don't raise issues in order to be satisfied and solve them. They only raise them in order to further polarize society. So Jinnah and the Muslim League, despite this concession by the Congress, don't accept it. They say, no, 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 the whole song is bad. So the Congress actually did not concede to the Muslim League demand, which was to have the whole song removed as a national song. They gave in to what they genuinely felt was the possibility of misinterpretation, or rather, genuinely, as Tagore said, feelings could be hurt. But Mahatma Gandhi, weighing in on this whole controversy, good 2 years later, says, I would not risk a single quarrel over singing Vande Mataram at a mixed gathering. It will never suffer from disuse. It is enthroned in the hearts of millions. And in fact, he's the one who takes the initiative to say there is no reason to make it compulsory. People don't want to sing it, don't sing it. And he's a person who earlier and even now says it is enthroned in the heart of millions. It is a great song. I myself, in the same article, he says, I myself, as a lad, was enthused by this song. But this is what statesmanship is about. If there is something that exercises the minds of a significant section of a community which is part of your nation, how do you keep the nation together?
Let me underline at this point, Professor Mukherjee, that the quotation of Mahatma Gandhi from 1939, which you've just read out, was not raised by the Prime Minister in Parliament, nor was it raised the next day by Amit Shah in Parliament. And it's a critical quotation because it explains Mahatma Gandhi's attitude to Vande Mataram, and they omitted to mention it altogether. But let me come at this point.
Yeah, just one thing, and that's one point I want to make, that how the whole manner in which the Vande Mataram controversy is being raised in the Parliament is only again falls into the same pattern of targeting Nehru. The fact that Rabindranath Tagore's advice was taken, that Gandhiji weighed in. So if you are criticizing, if you are saying there was appeasement of the Muslim League and it led to partition, then Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi are as much guilty.
Now, the Prime Minister made a further point. He also spoke about the Congress Working Committee meeting, which was arranged by Nehru for October the 26th, 1937. And as he said, that meeting was intended, and I'm quoting, to review the use of Vande Mataram. And at that meeting, the Congress, he says, compromised on Vande Mataram, fragmenting it in their decision. The Prime Minister's suggestion, and I underline that word, the Prime Minister's suggestion is that the Working Committee did this under Nehru's pressure.
Yeah.
That suggestion correct or inaccurate?
It cannot be. I mean, that the working committee of the Congress had always had, there were 20 people it used to have, and heavyweights like Sardar Patel and Maulana Azad and many socialists. I don't know in this particular one, if Jayaprakash Narayan, there used to be at least 3 or 4 socialists in it. There used to be, Pandit Pant was there very often. So the entire top leadership of the Congress would be in the working committee. So the question that Nehru can, bulldoze his way through. And let's not forget, Mahatma Gandhi was alive and kicking and very powerful. Nothing could have happened without being Mahatma Gandhi being in the picture, even if he's not there in the working committee. And as it's clear in the later correspondence and then there's a working committee meeting which is held in January of 1939 in Wardha, in Gandhiji's presence, where the same stand is again taken. So, it's not something, as I said, that the Congress did as a knee-jerk reaction, that Nehru bulldozed his way through. This is a matter which came up repeatedly and was handled with great sagacity and with great deal of care involving the entire top leadership of the Congress. So if everybody is guilty, fine.
You made a very important point there. This decision taken by the Working Committee in 1937 was reiterated in another Working Committee in 1939 in Mahatma Gandhi's presence, which means that the reiteration had Mahatma Gandhi's full support.
Of course. And there is a lot of correspondence before that also. I mean, there's a lot of historical record which is fortunately available to us and has been worked on by very respected historians for us to actually be able to make these arguments.
And this is something else that the Prime Minister, as well as Amit Shah, the Home Minister, failed to mention, that the decision of 1937 was reiterated by another Working Committee meeting in 1939 in Gandhi's presence, which means Gandhi endorsed that decision. Let me quote from the Prime Minister's speech. He said this of the decision to only sing two stanzas of Vande Mataram. And I'm quoting, "This decision was cloaked under the guise of social harmony, but history bears witness that the INC bowed before the Muslim League and acted under its pressure, adopting a politics of appeasement. Under the pressure of appeasement politics, the Congress bent for the division of Vande Mataram and therefore one day had to bend for the partition of India." Do you agree with that?
Obviously not. Of course, I don't agree with it. And, this term appeasement is something that has been used by the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha right from the 1930s onwards. We are so familiar with it. Always the Congress was accused of appeasing the Muslims. Who was the greatest, the person who was accused the most of appeasing the Muslims? Not Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi. After all, he was killed for that reason, that he was appeasing the Muslims. That whole sentiment that was built up against Mahatma Gandhi at the time of the partition, immediately afterwards, was that he was always appeasing the Muslims. He was the one person who stood against the partition of India. He was the one person who said Muslims should not have to leave India. He gave an assurance to the mayors of Haryana that they should not leave when they were wanting to leave en masse. In Delhi, he went on a fast and insisted that Muslims must come back into old Delhi from where they had been ousted. 2 lakhs of them were sitting in camps in old Purana Kila and all that. And he insisted, and under Nehru's direction, within a matter of a month, they were back in their homes. He said their mosques must be restored. Mahatma Gandhi was the greatest appeaser, and I think that's great. We need more people who will, within quotes, appease rather than polarize and marginalize our minorities.
Let me at this point quote Amit Shah, the Home Minister. I'm not quoting the Prime Minister. In the speech that the Home Minister made in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, he said partition would not have happened if Vande Mataram was not cut in two. Do you believe that connection? That the cutting into Vande Mataram led directly to partition?
Obviously not. The partition of India is such a big historical event. And things like this don't happen for any single simple or complicated reason. It's a complex thing. I couldn't go back and tell the whole history of division, which the British started from after the revolt of 1857 to try and divide the Hindus and the Muslims. They brought in separate electorates. They encouraged the formation of the Muslim League. They encouraged communal disharmony. They were very happy with Hindu communalists and Muslim communalists. Even during this period on the Vande Mataram controversy, we have evidence where the governors, who are British, and the ministries, our Congress, are saying, let this brew. the governor of Central Provinces writes to the viceroy and says, "Shall I use my governor's powers to say Vande Mataram should not be sung?" And the reply to him is, "No, no, let it be. This is the advantages to us." So we have a whole history of the British encouraging it. We have a whole history of our own people, both Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, falling prey to this and doing a good job of it. So there are many, many people who are responsible. It's a long, complicated, complex history. Can certainly not be reduced to, the decision to, even if it was true, to remove two stanzas. And on the contrary, I would say, if anything, the Congress attempt to find a solution, and it's not just Congress, I said, the tallest minds of India, the best of India was engaged in this controversy. If we don't respect Rabindranath Tagore, if we don't respect Maulana Azad, if we don't respect Narendra Dev, who was the tallest intellectual among the socialists, if we don't respect Mahatma Gandhi and their wisdom, then I'm sorry, I'd rather be wrong with them than right with whoever's in power today.
Let me end by asking a broader question. What has been Congress's attitude to Vande Mataram from 1896 onwards, when it was first sung at a Congress session by Rabindranath Tagore? Give us a brief characterization of what you believe Congress's attitude to the song has been.
I think the Congress's attitude to the song has always been one of accepting it and celebrating it. Rabindranath Tagore brought it to attention. He's the one who gave it music. It was, in that sense, an obscure poem lying inside a novel, and he brought it out and gave it life. And during the anti-partition movement, which was, of course, led by the Congress, Rabindranath Tagore, Bipin Chandra Pal, Aurobindo later, they were all very much part of it. That is when it gained a lot of popularity. And it became something that was sung and shouted as a slogan on the streets and sung as a song. So in Bengal, it became very popular. Also, translations of it appeared in various Indian languages. And it became very popular. So the Congress has always identified with the song. As I said, we have Mahatma Gandhi on record saying, how he was enthused by
So
it.
Congress has never disrespected the song, as the Prime Minister and Amit Shah seem to be suggesting.
The question doesn't arise. And let me just also remind you and our viewers and maybe the government that they should at least have told us that in 2006, the Congress actually declared that it was the 100th anniversary of Vande Mataram, and Arjun Singh, the education minister, said we must celebrate it. And there was a circular that was sent out saying it should be sung. And a controversy erupted then also. Various sections of Muslim opinion did start objecting to it. But the Congress did in 2006. They thought that. By the way, there's always been never clarity about when exactly that song was written. So even the best of our historians who's weighed in on this says somewhere between 1772 and 1775. 75 is not an exact date. So Arjun Singh...
1772 or 1872?
Sorry, 18. I'm so sorry. Historians tend to jump centuries sometimes, in our enthusiasm to go back.
I thank you, Professor Mukherjee, for the time you've given me, and I want to repeat that critical opening phrase of yours. The Prime Minister has been economical with the truth. And I'll remind the audience that that phrase was first used by Winston Churchill. I believe it was in the House of Commons, to actually suggest that the speaker he was referring to had not told the truth, that the speaker had lied. But you're sticking to the Winston Churchill formula, economical with the truth, but that is precisely what it means, that the Prime Minister did not tell the truth, he lied. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your analysis. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.